Okay, a couple quick questions. Challenges, if you will. These kids are doing jumping jacks. How many jumping jacks can you do? Could you do 7 jumping jacks? How about 77 jumping jacks? What about 7 times 70 jumping jacks? I bet you could do 7 push-ups, but could you do 490, which is 7 times 70? And how many times could you bounce a soccer ball from foot to foot? Could you do it 7 times? 77 times? 7 times 70 or 490? I'm starting to think that 77 and 490 sound like an awful lot of times to do any of these things. Okay, well, what about bouncing a soccer ball on your head? Could you do that 7 times? 7 times 70? Okay, one more. How many times would you be able to forgive a friend? 7? 77? 7 times 70 or 490? That's a good one. In Matthew chapter 18, verses 21 through 35, Jesus shares the parable of the unforgiving servant. Peter asks Jesus, "Lord, if someone sins against me, how often should I forgive him? As many as 7 times?" But Jesus tells him, "No, not 7 times, but I tell you 77 times. And in some versions of the Bible, it says 7 times 70. Jesus then goes on to share the parable of the unforgiving servant. The servant owed his master, a king, a debt he could not pay. And since he could not pay, the master was going to sell him with his wife and children and all his possessions so that the payment could be made. And then the servant fell on his knees and said, "Please, please have patience with me and I will pay you everything." And the king, his master, forgave him his debt. But then later on, that same slave came upon somebody else who owed him money. And he grabbed him hard and he said, "Pay me what you owe me." And that slave said to him, "Have patience with me and I will repay you," as he fell to his knees. But the now debt-free slave refused, and he went and threw him in prison until he would pay his debt. This was reported to the king because others saw it and were distressed. "How could you not forgive him his debt when I forgave you yours?" said the king. We make a lot of mistakes in our daily lives. Sometimes we say the wrong things, sometimes we do the wrong things, and sometimes we just make the wrong choices. But sometimes others do things that maybe make us upset. And maybe you've even thought, just like Peter asked, how many times do I need to forgive? Like in the parable today, the king or God forgave or forgives us. So if he can forgive, we need to be able to forgive as well. And when Jesus answered with the number 77 or 7 times 7, that wasn't an exact number. He just meant a lot. It's not always easy to forgive, but it's important to remember that we're to love one another, and forgiveness is a huge part of that. Have a great week, everybody.